I have a mad one for you today. So if you didn't see my last video, please go back and watch that, because this is kind of a carry on from that. And in that video we were talking about little Charlie Smutton and how they found the guy, and people correctly pointed out in the comments this is very, very different to the Summer Wells case, because we don't have as much CCTV up in Bennett Road. Neighbours wouldn't have ring doorbell cameras. I think one maybe did, but we don't have much at all. And they're right, we don't. And it's the same with the GPS and the phone trackings. It was very easy in that case. They had one suspect, Justin, so they were able to go in, pull all his data, pull all his GPS. And I think the same thing would have happening with the Wells. Don, Candus, Grandis, all their phones, the GPS that was available in one of the cars. And I know there's suggestions that maybe Don took the car that day, so Candus was free to have the car without the GPS, and she left her phone in Grandis's car, i.e. did she sell her? And that's all fair enough, but I just want to talk specifically about GPS on unknown people in the area. So going back to the Cleo case, it hasn't been confirmed yet. They haven't said much details at all about how they exactly found them, but I think it must be something got to do with a mass collection of data and tracking unknown individuals. So we all know, like, when you make a phone call or when you make a text or when you go onto the internet, it will go to the nearest tower and they'll triangulate a lot of locations based on that. But because a lot of phones have tracking now in them, the data that exists in the phone is a lot more accurate than just simply triangulating someone's telephone number. Say if you have an Android phone, you can go straight into Timeline, and Google has a straight out of the box kind of tracking for Android, and you can see all your locations there where you've been. Or if you have an iPhone, take your iPhone out right now and go into settings, type in location services. Everything will probably be turned on. In here you'll see a list of all the apps that are tracking your location, and down at the very end it will say system services. It doesn't look like it will bring up another page, but once you click in there it will. Again, all settings will be turned on for all the apps. And down near the end, not quite at the end, it's kind of tucked in there, hidden away, you'll see significant locations. And if you click in there, it will take your Face ID or your logins, and it will show you all the significant locations where you've been, if you've been there a few times. So basically what I'm trying to say is the data that exists on your phone in terms of GPS is a lot more accurate than triangulating someone's location based off cell phone towers. And back again to Cleo Smith. So in Cleo's case, they didn't have anybody to look at, so they couldn't go and say get a warrant for an individual person and pull their phone, pull their data. They probably would have been able to look at all the calls, text messages or data that went in off a certain tower, and look at all the phone numbers and through that and see what they can get. But I do think there's a good chance, and they were very clear at the start about we're going to use whatever we can to find the girl, to find Cleo. We're going to use secret spy technology if we have to. We don't care. We're going to throw the book at it to find her, and they did. And I reckon some of the stuff they did, if not illegal, is very much in the grey area of privacy and data protection and all that stuff. So what if you pull the data from everybody that hit that tower? And not just that tower, the 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 towers past that, to try and build a GPS profile of every user in the area. Better again, if you can go over Android and Google's head and just get their GPS data for the devices. Sync all these up. Now you're building GPS profiles of thousands of people and map it out. You're going to have to map it out in a way that it's not just people that go into that location, it's people that might have been heading towards that location, may have turned off the device and then appeared out of that location. Like, there's so much data and so much information that would have to go into that. It would take dozens and dozens of data analysts to go through this. And I do think that's what they'd done in Cleo's case. It must have been. Smartphones aren't around that long. We're not tracking this mass amount of people's GPS location for that long. Before this, it was always cell phone tower pings. So all this stuff is new, and I think the Australians went full hog into that. It would take huge manpower to get through this data and to be able to just analyse it and know what you need and know what you don't need and try to get a shortlist down. And you have to remember, you're starting out here with a huge amount of data. So much data and so much information on a mass group of people that I think it's borderline illegal. But who cares? Who cares if it finds little girls like Cleo? Take my info, I've not died. The only problem is when the United States does stuff like this, it tends to take it a bit too far, like the Patriot Act and stuff like that. So you with me so far? I'm getting to the point now, I promise. So for the sake of it, can we assume that I might be correct and the Aussies did something like this for Clio? We know that a few of the guys from the FBI were over there consulting. We also know that the Aussies were very proud of the huge team effort that was made in helping find Clio, and they also came out afterwards saying they're going to be very open with LEs all over the world and sharing this info and telling them how they found Clio and stuff like that. And based off that one example, there's a good chance that they'll be able to develop scripts and programs that might speed this up going forward if they have to use the same process again and work through that massive amount of data. So someone went missing on the afternoon of June the 15th, and over the next few weeks they would have doing the normal stuff, getting the data done from the nearest tower, looking through that, all that kind of jazz. Cleo Smith went missing 4 months later, just over 4 months later, on the 16th of October, and was found 18 days later on the 3rd of November. And I speculate, since the end of the Cleo case, that the TBI, the FBI, LEs all over the world have learned a lot about it and have learned how to conduct their own investigations going forward. So finally getting to my point, I just want to show you a clip. It's just 16-17 seconds of Don's last interview. Well, not his last interview, but this interview is fresh. This interview is from just 2 weeks ago when the protesters went to his work. Here's the clip.
Keeps in contact with investigators, not giving up hope.
I even hear from people time to time where TBIs has contacted them because their cell phone happened to ping in the area. So I know that they're still working and they're still looking into things.
Who's Don talking about there? He doesn't seem to be bothered by it or the person, so I don't think he thinks that they're a suspect. But that doesn't mean anything. So the TBI are now contacting people, probably again, because as Don says, their phone pinged in the area. But is this something got to do with the things they've learned from Clio? Who would be in that area that would have said that to Don? It's a small place, there's not many people there. Don doesn't talk to many of his neighbours, and there's only one person really that he didn't throw under the bus, and that's Andy. Is he talking about Andy here? Why are the TBI 7.5 months later asking people to confirm their location? Is it based off cell phone tower pings, or is it based off GPS? Is it because they have a new way of processing the data and looking at these things because of Clio and her case? I would love to know exactly who Don is talking about. Is he talking about one person and exaggerating it, saying people? But there can't be that many people who pinged in the area. I think there's a very, very good chance that he is talking about Andy here. And I would love to know why the TBI are contacting him again, if they are, and what data they have. Maybe it's nothing at all got to do with the Aussies and how they process the Clio case, but I would love to know who Don is talking about here. And I'd be very interested to know why the TBI is contacting him again. And Don says recently, so we must assume it has been after the Clio case. If there is anybody who has any information that they can share with me on how they found Clio exactly, please let me know. If you're not comfortable leaving in the comments, send me an email. I'll keep it to myself, I promise. Thank you so much to Donna, Dr. Debo and Fern for signing up for the channel membership last night. I only set it up yesterday trying to have some fun with it. I've created Harley and Rocco emojis and little badges and stuff like that. It's good crack. Check it out, I'll have a link in the description. And a very special thank you to Sherry Coon for signing up for my Patreon. You absolute legend. Thank you very, very much. A few people also have been sending me pictures of their dogs and their pigs. Hilarious. I need to start sharing some of these with you. Please continue to do so. I love getting them. I must sit down tonight or tomorrow and reply to all their gas stuff. Let me know what you think. Let me know who you think Don is talking about there, and if it is anything got to do with Clio. Good luck, God bless, have a good day.